This is Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Brought to you by McMahon's Best One Tire and Auto Care.
Good morning and welcome to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. Along with D.C. Hendricks, I'm Jim Shovlin. Thanks so much for tuning in as we're talking local sports of all sorts until the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. And easy to get a hold of us. You can do so via the text line at 260. I should know this by now, right? 260-447-8500. That's 260-447-8500. And especially if you were at a high school football game last night, any surprises in your eyes? You know, I was out at Leo, I think with just about everybody else, with the Leo Lures game. Not a whole lot of offense, staunch defense by both teams. And it was just one of those things that, maybe if we were elsewhere, could have seen the ball in the end zone a little bit more. But my goodness, a couple of very good football teams going at it in week one. So that was a lot of fun, and that was a game broadcast right here on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM with Brett Rump and Shannon, the Coach Griffith, on the call. So it was an exciting night of high school football, and we're going to be talking to Justin Kenny in just a few moments to recap some of the scores and some of the highlights of week one. But we've got a little bit of local sports news to share with you before that. So after splitting a doubleheader with Lake County on Thursday, the Wayne Tincaps fell to the Captains last night on the road by a score of 5-3. They'll play the Captains again tonight and tomorrow before returning home to Parkview Field on Tuesday against the Dayton Dragons, the Cincinnati Reds affiliate, for their final homestand of the regular season. Zach McKinstry was 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored and an RBI last night while playing shortstop, as his Detroit Tigers beat the Kansas City Royals 7-5. McKinstry, who's singled, tripled, and homered, is now hitting, that's just a double short of the cycle, is now hitting .265 on the season for the Tigers, 11 home runs, 41 RBI, 19 stolen bases. And, of course, I marvel at the fact that he's played just about every position but pitch, catch, and center field on the major league level. That's just unbelievable to me. So much like, Mr. Van Meter as well.
Yeah, and on top of all that, Tigers' best record in the American League.
Yeah, look at them go.
So they're rolling. They're rolling, and McKinstry's rolling.
And they're more than just Tarek Skubal now. And my goodness, they're getting pitching. They're getting great bullpen work. So, we'll see. Oh, speaking of bullpen, Andrew Salfrank threw a 6-pitch perfect 9th inning last night in the Arizona Diamondbacks 6-5 win over the Cincinnati Reds. Andrew has appeared in 17 games now with a record of 1-1, 17 and a third innings pitched. His ERA is 1.56. He's got a whip, DC, of under 1, 0.98. And if you're not familiar with whip, that's walks and hits divided by innings pitched. So if you're allowing less than a base runner an inning, that's pretty darn good. But he's got 11 strikeouts to go with that and 2 saves, got his second save of the season this past week. So Andrew Salfrank being a major cog in the bullpen for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Taking a look at Blake Sebring's book, Fort Wayne Sports History, the entry on August 23rd. Something kind of near and dear to my heart. It says, in 1992, the Men's Senior Baseball League begins play in Fort Wayne. Each summer Sunday afternoon since 1992, the members of the Men's Senior Baseball League play like boys again, the only concessions being aluminum bats and longer warm-ups before the game and the morning after. The Men's Senior Baseball League started in 1986 in Long Island, New York, and now has affiliate leagues throughout the country. Local organizer Dan Esch read about the league in U.S. News and World Report and decided to organize a Fort Wayne League. Since the Fort Wayne League started, more than 1,000 players have participated. The rules say every player must be 30 and over. Now, this was a a few years back. And everyone plays. All other baseball rules apply, though the strike zone's been slightly expanded to aid the pitchers, many of whom haven't thrown competitively for at least 8 years. The hardest part of the league is finding enough pitchers, which was very, very true, or finding enough that could raise their arms above their shoulders. During the first day of play, the Fort Wayne in the Fort Wayne Men's Senior Baseball League, Fort Wayne's Mr. Baseball, Red Carrington, threw out the first pitch. And then the Reds beat the A's 25-2, and the Yankees outlasted the Dodgers 19-15. Along the way, there have been major leaguers like Brent Gaff and Mike Ressler playing in the league, and several times local teams have gone to the league's World Series in Arizona, and they've also played in the Fall Classic down in the Tampa-St. Petersburg area. In 2009, Esch was inducted into the MSBL Hall of Fame, becoming the third Indiana player to be inducted. The ironic thing is that he graduated from Bishop Dwenger in 1972 before the school started sponsoring a baseball team, so he never played organized baseball from age 12 to age 38. But, the fact that so many guys were able to come back and play baseball again is a testimony to Mr. Dan Esch, who passed away some years ago from ALS, and just a remarkable man and a gentleman. And I just am very taken by that gentleman, Mr. Dan Esch. What a guy. A great friend of mine. Also, in 1994, Rod Woodson is selected to the NFL's 75th anniversary team. And then also in 1996, Homestead graduate Sean Brown wins the first of 2 gold medals in the discus at the Paralympics. So that is your August 23rd entry for Fort Wayne Sports History from the book by Blake Sebring of the same name, Fort Wayne Sports History. As I said, week 1 of the high school football season is in the books. And what do we usually do on Saturday mornings during the football season? We turn to our high school football expert from OutsideTheHuddle.net and OPS, Mr. Justin Kenny. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are we doing?
We are wonderful this morning. Well, football's back. High school football's back. I know you were out at Leo. I was at Leo. DC was at Leo. And that was a great atmosphere for high school football. And these two teams didn't disappoint. You know, it was interesting. I was thinking coming into that one, who's really favored? You know, because Leo in 4A and Lures and in 3A and anyway, Lures. It was so evenly matched because both teams lost some outstanding players, but then those programs, one led by someone by the name of Dorfler, the other one by the name of Lindsay, and they have football heritage, football history for years and years and years around this community. And you knew that they would have their teams prepared, and I thought they did. It was 14-7 Leo is the final score, but it could have been anybody's ball game through the middle of the fourth quarter still.
Yeah, I talked to Jason Dorfler after the game, and he kind of echoed what you said in terms of evenly matched, and you had said we're almost mirror images of each other in terms of really strong lines and inexperienced quarterbacks, and it came down to execution and which team limited mistakes, and Leo was able to do that. 0 turnovers, had just 1 penalty all night. And then conversely, Bishop Lures really shot themselves in the foot at various times in this game with penalties. There was a play late, midway through the fourth quarter, 14-7 Leo, 4th and long, and Bishop Lures goes for it, gets the first down, but it's called back for an ineligible receiver downfield or ineligible man downfield. And then, with a minute to go, Lures got a stop and was going to get the ball back with an outside chance to try to score and tie it, and Lures had 12 men on the field.
Yeah.
And that effectively ended the game. You look at Tommy Reichert, the sophomore, gets the nod as the quarterback, and I thought played reasonably well for his first ever start as a sophomore at Leo, which is no easy task. But threw an early interception earlier in the second half. I think it was the first play of the second half, and that killed a drive. So, collectively, those things added up for Bishop Luers, and Leo was able to limit the mistakes, and that was really the deciding factor in this game. Is Leo just did not make the mistakes that you tend to expect in week one. And that's a testament to the Lions coaching staff and the players to execute last night with minimal mistakes.
Right. And that was very interesting. I thought the offensive line of Leo played extremely well to get Nate Foster some running room. And, of course, he doesn't need a whole lot of opportunity to make things happen. He went for 133 yards, scored one of the touchdowns. But, the Isaiah Kuhlmans and Jake Clemens was another one. A sophomore, 6'3", 250 as a sophomore, was blasting open some holes too. But then again, the defensive line on Luers was pretty formidable as well.
It was, and it really limited what these teams could do because of the defensive fronts. So we saw Nate Foster break one for 55 yards that resulted in Leo's first touchdown eventually, really put them in good position. But other than that, it was just a very grinded-out game for both teams trying to move the football. And Nathan Foster had his night, and it was impressive, about 120 yards on the ground. But Leo, credit to them, did not allow Bishop Luers to really have that big play, whether it was in the running game, the passing game. Luers really started struggling in the second half with cramping too. It took a couple guys out, particularly Brandon Gaither, their number one running back, out for a considerable amount of the fourth quarter, so that hurt as well. But it was very much a game of really feeling each other out and seeing if somebody was going to let something big happen. And nobody really did. So it really came down to those small mistakes that accumulated for Bishop Luers that ended up deciding this game.
Yeah, and of course, now you kind of take a look at things too, and for Bishop Luers, my goodness, I mean they will go back and play at Andrean next Saturday, a week from today. They will have another big test for them. And then, of course, Leo and Angola in their annual tussle, the NECC versus the NE8. So it'll be a lot of fun to see as this is all unfolding. But let's take a look at some of the other games from around the area. Last night, of course, out at Wayne Stadium, it was a Riley Biddle show for the East Noble Knights, 42-0 over the Wayne Generals. Biddle had a couple of touchdown passes and a couple of rushing touchdowns as well for the Knights, and wondering what the Knights would look like after graduation. But Mr. Biddle says, no worries. So it'll be interesting to see. Once again, you got to wait until week 3 or so to see who the pretenders and contenders are. But East Noble was clicking on all cylinders last night.
Yeah, they were perfectly fine. And Alex Scott had a big game last night. 4 catches, 152 yards, 2 touchdowns for East Noble. And that was the big question, still is, for East Noble, is are they going? How much are they going to regress, losing all those guys last year? Wayne, with Darion White, is very much in building a program mode, but very much a dominant performance. Anytime you can shut down the athletes of an SAC team and pitch a shutout, it's really impressive, and that's what East Noble was able to do last night.
And how about Northside over Northridge, 21-7? I think Malik Moore likes his new quarterback.
Yeah, he does. How about last night with Jaden Rivers, man, the new quarterback that transfers in, was at Warren Central last year, and all he does is go 19 of 24, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns. Malik Moore, 5 receptions, 81 yards, and a couple scores. And this is setting up, at least looking at Northside's schedule. He said, okay, if they can get this Northridge game which has been a really solid game for game. Then they have New Haven and Northrop and Concordia, all very winnable games. Now, that Northrop game should be very interesting in Week 3, but could this be a 4-0 football team heading in to play Lures in Week 5? And that's, of course, looking way down the road. But first hurdle cleared for the Legends, who are 1-0 in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2012, 2013, gentlemen.
And Coach Johnson has a lot of skill position talent, elite talent, to work with there. Northrop, 41-0 over the New Haven Bulldogs. David Callison, 5 touchdown passes, a couple to Quay Guilford, and the rolling clock in the second half, and then the game was suspended due to extracurricular activity off the field.
Unfortunate to see how this game ended, just some fights breaking out amongst kids in the Commons area on the New Haven side of things, and just kind of ugly scene last night at New Haven concluding this game. But looking at what happened on the field, the offense was as advertised for Northrop. We knew it was going to be high-powered. But how about the defense of Northrop, guys? This is a team in this game last year. It was a 53-48 final in Week 1. And New Haven struggled last year. They're going to struggle a little bit this year as well. But to go from giving up 48 points to 0 in this game, I mean, I'm more intrigued about Northrop now, not because of the offense we saw last night, but because of that defense and being able to pitch the shutout. So kudos to the Bruins. Week 1 mission accomplished, and we'll see what they can do now hosting Huntington North next week, and then they get Northside in Week 3 at home. So keep an eye on the Bruins after a most complete performance as we've seen in quite some time out of the Bruins.
Next game on the agenda, Hamilton Southeastern 14-7 over the Carroll Chargers, and the Carroll Chargers beginning an era, the post-Jimmy Sullivan era.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe Freisinger gets the start, through for 255 yards, but threw 3 interceptions in this game. Carroll really couldn't do anything on the ground, held to minus 11 yards rushing. That includes sacks. Harry Shaley, younger brother of the late Owen Shaley, 8 catches, 122 yards. Just a good litmus test for Carroll to play these games. And went to HSE, who's obviously a 6A power. They'll host Center Grove next week. So I felt, for Carroll, they competed, absolutely competed against HSE. The rushing is a concern, not being able to move the chains on the ground, but we'll see what they do next week against Center Grove. And a very good experience for Gabe Freisinger, thrown into the fire, so to speak, the junior having to start at HSE, his first ever start.
And next on the schedule here were the Bishop Dwenger Saints and Indianapolis Roncalli. Roncalli prevails by a field goal, 3-0. How about that one?
Just a barn burner down at Roncalli. How about that? It was scoreless until well into the second half. And Bishop Dwenger had not been shut out, guys, in Week 1 since 1998, and 19-0 loss to Harding to start the season way back in 1998. Henry Jordan, threw 3 interceptions last night for Bishop Dwenger. So they get St. Francis de Sales out of Ohio next week. And so the Saints will try to get into the win column at Shields next Friday.
Indianapolis Cecina 48, Concordia 28. The Cadets putting the ball in the end zone.
They did, and they led this game 28-27, scored 21 points in the third quarter unanswered, but then were outscored 21-0 in the fourth quarter by Cecina. Eli Trent, 151 rushing yards, 3 touchdowns for Concordia. Grant Allman, 17 tackles, a forced fumble, and 1.5 tackles for loss for the Cadets. They were very much in this game, closer than the final score indicated, and yeah, it's tough to go down. We saw just so many Fort Wayne teams head down to Indy and struggle. And Concordia, I think, was definitely in this game, just let it get away. You know, you look at fourth quarter, you wonder about numbers. Was it just, really running out of steam in that fourth quarter for the Cadets? But they'll get Eastbrook at home next week, an Eastbrook team that won in dramatic fashion against Huntington North last night.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And the Southside Archers put up 42 points, but it wasn't enough as they were beaten by the Marion Giants 48-42.
Marion got this win, scored late to take the lead, and then was able to recover a fumble that effectively ended this one. Has become a really good game for both teams to start the season. 2 years ago, Marion beat Southside by 5. Last year, Marion won in overtime, and then this one a 48-42 final down in Marion. So, and Southside just can't seem to make the plays late to beat the Giants, but a good offensive performance at the very least from the Archers.
And the big matchup over Spooler Stadium, Warsaw and Snyder. The Warsaw Tigers prevailed 38-30 in a game that was very hotly contested and back and forth, and Warsaw sealed the deal with a touchdown and 2-point conversion in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 1:39 left in this game. Brody Duncan, a 5-yard touchdown run, 2-point conversion is good, and Warsaw gets this win. Yeah, this just felt like very much for Warsaw a prove-it type game. They had beaten Carroll in the playoffs, but they hadn't beaten a big dog from the city, from the SAC, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe there was a bit of disrespect on Warsaw they're good up in their area and in the Northern Lakes, but they haven't played anybody big in the city. And I felt like this was maybe the coming out party for Bart Curtis and Warsaw in Fort Wayne, that put some respect on their name type thing, right, guys? And these two teams combined for 770 yards rushing last night. Warsaw with their wishbone attack, 462 yards on the ground. First loss to Warsaw for Snyder since 1979, and the first back-to-back seasons with an opening loss for the Panthers since 2010, 2011, when they opened both of those seasons with a loss to Bishop Luers.
And Westfield blanks Homestead by a score of 35-0. And, a lot of the preseason talk was having their signal caller, Michael White, back for the Spartans, for a third year to start. And, boy, I'll tell you what, that Westfield defense was staunch.
Yeah, just a tremendous challenge for Homestead having to play this game against Westfield and got all the way to the state finals last year. Westfield did. And so just a difficult start to the season for Homestead because of the back-to-back games against Homestead and Noblesville. And they just need to come out of these two games relatively healthy. But not being able to score in this game is tough because you want to show that you can compete. We saw Carroll compete at HSE, right? And then Homestead goes down and loses 35-0 to Westfield. So offensively, you have to have some concerns for Homestead, and even defensively as well. But Spartans had not been shut out in week one, guys, since 1979, a 6-0 loss to Angola.
Wow. Now moving over to the NE8, just a few of the games here that I wanted to touch on. Columbia City gets a 27-24 victory over Northwood, and Columbia City is looking to be one of the elite of the NE8 this year.
Did not need the passing game last night, guys. Just 2 attempts for Columbia City through the air, neither of which were completed. Trace Parrish, 28 rushes, 168 yards, and a touchdown. Columbia City for the game rushed for 325 yards. Gavin Smith, the impact junior, who had 8 picks last year for Columbia City, had a 56-yard pick six in the fourth quarter that effectively put this game away. So a big win for Columbia City to start the season. Northwood is no slouch, and to be able to go there and get a dub is very impressive.
And another score I wanted to talk about, Heritage over Belmont, 42-0. Not unexpected, I guess, but Heritage looking to be one of the the upper echelon teams, as we talked a week or so ago, in the ACAC.
Yeah, we were wondering and still wondering just what Heritage is going to look like this year with so much graduation. Guys like Braden Walter and Eli Tagulis moving on from last year, and younger brother Zeb stepping in at quarterback, 100 yards passing, 3 touchdowns for Mr. Tagulis. Lucas Weber, Jake Krause, and Alden Bowers, 1 touchdown run apiece. Just a tough task for Belmont, who, of course, has struggled. And you look at Heritage and say maybe other games are going to better prove or see who they are. And they'll get Delta next week, guys, and that may be a better test for Heritage to see exactly where they're at before they open ACAC play week 3 at home against Woodland.
And heading over to the Allen County Athletic Conference, a.k.a. the ACAC, Adams Central and Garrett. And last year, this game was started out as a bit of a surprise, but then as the season wore on, I get it. But Adams Central prevails by a score of 7-0 over the Railroaders.
Just a game that you had to limit mistakes, very much like we talked about Bishop Lures and Leo and how Leo was able to. Is Adams Central gets up in this game 7-0 and then was able to hold on. They allowed just 4 first downs and 72 total yards for Garrett. So that defense in particular for the Flying Jets was very impressive. Reese Hammond, 9 tackles, 1.5 tackles for loss for the Flying Jets. Jamison Roach, 48 yards rushing and a touchdown. And Adams Central gets the dub, and much like last year, we're kind of like, okay, what's this mean for Garrett? What's this mean for Adams Central? But this has become a pretty solid rivalry, guys, and I don't think Garrett has anything to really be ashamed about in this game, holding Adams Central to just 7 points. So, Garrett gets DeKalb next week. Adams Central goes to Eastside, who really beat up on Woodland last night. So that'll be a very good one up in Butler next Friday night, AC and the Blazers.
And one of the other 2 I wanted to talk about, the Bluffton Tigers of Brent Kunkel, 20-14 over Shenandoah. And once again, when you've got an elite quarterback, hey, you got to use it.
And Axton Best, 210 yards rushing, 3 touchdown passes. Elijah Birch with 5 reception, 102 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Strevler, a couple touchdown receptions. Shenandoah scored, guys, with 2:17 left in this game to bring themselves within 2, but the 2-point conversion failed, and Bluffton holds on. Talk about solid wins to get a season started. And that's kind of been the theme for some squads in week 1, as we've talked this morning. That's a good win for Bluffton. Last year, they started off with Blackhawk, Christian, and Manchester to start the season, and we were kind of like, how good is Bluffton? Mm-hmm. And this is a good game to really show where this team could potentially be, because Shenandoah is a really solid program, and they're a non-conference team, so they fill their schedule with non-conference opponents. And Bluffton was able to go down there and get a dub. So a good week 1 dub for the Fighting Kunks over in Bluffton.
One other score that was a little bit of a surprise to me, Justin, was Marion Local from Ohio over South Adams, because there was some talk about South Adams kind of bouncing back in recent seasons, but they were beaten by Marion 56-0 last night.
Well, this was a unique game, guys, because South Adams had their week 1 opponent drop them last year, with just a couple months left before the season starts. So this happened a couple months ago. So everybody's pretty much set in the state with their schedule, right? So South Adams had to scramble and find somebody to play. And just their luck, Marion Local needed a game. A team that has won 15 state championships in Ohio, has won 4 straight state championships. Now, they're in the lowest division in Ohio, but, hey, so is South Adams. Now, Marion Local won the state championship last year 74-0. They have won now 66 straight games. So this was a Herculean task for South Adams to go over and play Marion local. It was just a game that I think Coach Moser said, all right, let's get some experience and then get the heck out of here. And that's exactly what happened last night. So I don't know if I'm looking too much into this final score last night, guys, considering the opponent's factor, because I can't imagine those teams in that lowest division in Ohio, Division 7, having to keep staring at Marion local after winning 4 consecutive state championships.
Let's go over finally to the Northeast corner and just a couple of games I want to talk about there. The first one being West Noble beating Central Noble 35-8. Not a big surprise there, but how good is West Noble going to be this season?
You know, I know a lot of people are talking about Garrett, and for good reason, because they were so good last year in that division. But so many people kind of overlooked West Noble last year, whose only 2 losses came to Garrett, including that 1-point loss in the sectional championship game. Yeah, they lose Seth Pruitt, but they bring so much back. And I think this team could very well be the most complete team in the entire Northeast Corner Conference. And so for me, the Central Noble's kind of been down, so I don't know if the final score really tells us much about West Noble, but a West Noble at Eastside game in week 3 could be very good. I'm looking at the Chargers as maybe being that team in the big division, and they got started off on the right foot last night with that big dub at their rival Central Noble.
And how about those Cherubusco Eagles getting a 36-7 victory over Bremen?
How about those Busco Eagles and maybe a surprise team last year to win that small division? Eastside had dominated it for several years, and Busco picking up where they left off last year and really getting this win. It's been good because Cherubusco, 5 or 6 years ago, finally got to play their Whitley County foe, Columbia City, in week 1. And it was the first time they'd ever played when they started playing that series. 5 straight years, and Cherubusco went 0-5, and none of those games were really close. And so Cherubusco looks at it and said, well, it's nice playing the county foe, but how about we start with somebody a little bit more our speed? And that was Bremen. And for Cherubusco to get that win the first time in a half a dozen years that they've been able to start the season with a dub, that's more what the Eagles are looking for in week 1. And they get a dub, and now they'll have back-to-back tough matchups. They go to Lakeland next week. They'll try to rebound from a tough loss at South Bend St. Joe, and then they have to go to Garrett in week 3. So it's amazing sometimes what a week 1 win can do. Cherubusco hasn't gotten that in quite some time, but they were able to last night.
Well, Justin, I'll tell you what, thank you so much for joining us and recapping week 1. Let's take a look at week 2, and are you determined to be somewhere specific next Friday night?
That's a very good question. I haven't gotten that far, guys. I'm not sure what is kind of going to jump out. I think you look at the non-conference in the SAC, and is there anything there that kind of you look at East Noble Snyder? Maybe that's the game next week to go to. So I may have just talked myself into it here live on Saturday morning. Maybe I'll go to Kendallville next week.
Yes. Yeah, that looks like that might be a marquee matchup. And then, of course, Huntington North at Northrop. That could burn out some bulbs on the scoreboard there, the way those two can put up numbers. But that should be an interesting one. And but, yeah, there's so many going. Center Grove is paying a visit to Carroll to take on the Chargers. But, it should be, once again, week 2. We got a little bit more knowledge of some of these teams, but not enough yet. So it should be a lot of fun going forward. And this will all culminate Thanksgiving weekend. But, my goodness, until then, it'll be quite a ride. So thank you so much for joining us, Justin. And can we talk to you next Saturday?
Let's do it, fellas. Talk to you then.
Sounds good. Thank you, Justin. That was Justin Kenny from OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net in our recap. And even now, Mr. D.C. Hendricks also. You're handling some high school football duties as well this season, aren't you?
Yeah, so for the first time since I started at this radio station back in 2014, for the first time I will be out of the studio on Friday nights.
And where are you going to be?
I'm going to be out at the fields.
Okay.
I'm going to be out covering games. I got a gig with Indiana Preps. So I'm going to be covering games and, doing recaps, previews, all that fun stuff.
Now, how do we read your recaps?
Just go to indianapreps.com.
There we go.
It'll all be on there. I was at Leo last night for Leo Lures, so I'll have a recap up this morning as soon as we get off here. And, next week, I think the one I was looking at was Center Grove Carroll. I assume a lot of people are going to be at the East Noble Snyder game. So this week, I kind of want to branch out to cover a game that'd be a little bit different. I was even thinking about Huntington Northrop, like you mentioned. So we'll see how it goes in week 2.
It could be a lot of fun. All right, well, before we go to break, I want to tell you about my friends at Culligan. Once again, you got a water softener? You know anything about it? Yeah, me either. So what I did, I paid $29.95 and got a water softener checkup. A representative, a well-trained representative from Culligan will come out, do a couple of water tests, and then check your softener and maybe make a couple of adjustments, do a couple of tweaks if necessary. If not, well, they won't touch it. And then if everything's running great, they'll let you know. If it's not, they'll let you know. And they're built on character and integrity, and I would vouch for them any day. So give them a call today at 484-8668. That's 484-8668. And ask about that water softener inspection, $29.95 for your home's peace of mind. Give your people Culligan Water. We'll be back for more. We'll be talking to Mike Nutter when we return. You're listening to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One on 1380 The Fan, 100.9 FM.
How do you thank the people that add so much to our lives? How do you celebrate a community that brings out the best in all of us? You give back. In 2022, McMahon's Best One gave more than $100,000 to local organizations that are always there to lift us up, to listen, to strengthen us, every one of us. Throughout the year, McMahon's Best One will continue to give back to the community that has given so much to us, bringing out the best in each other, together.
The wait is almost over. NFL Sunday mornings, well, they've never sounded better on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM. Starting September 7th and 11th, the NFL Insider takes you around the NFL, bringing you the latest on roster moves, coaching decisions, and which team has the upper hand going into the big games of the day. Join Scott Graham on the NFL Insiders Sunday mornings at 11 on 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM, or stream anywhere on your 1380 The Fan app.
All right, well, it's KB here. With this brutal heat, your AC isn't just a comfort thing. It's a must. If your system's rattling or struggling, don't wait for it to die on the hottest day of the year. Trust Brockman Heating and Air Conditioning, your independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer. Family owned for 4 generations and WOWO's go-to HVAC team. They'll inspect, clean, and fine-tune your system so it keeps you cool and your energy bills in check. So beat the heat, call Brockman today, or book online at brockmanheatingandair.com. On time, done right, or it's free.
Becoming a truck driver doesn't have to be complicated. At Schneider, we make it easy to get your commercial driver's license and start your new career. With our CDL apprenticeship training, you'll get paid to become a truck driver in just 5 to 6 weeks and have a Schneider driving job waiting for you when you've completed the program. Plus, during training, Schneider will provide transportation, lodging, and meals at no cost to you. Ready to get your career on the road? Learn more and apply today at SchneiderJobs.com. That's SchneiderJobs.com.
Are you ready to embrace a new opportunity? Do you get fulfillment out of helping others? Are you a self-starter who loves to make your own schedule and can still work well with others? Maybe you're someone who needs a career with flexible PTO, the flexibility to take the time off when you need to and how often you need to, and are still able to perform your job at the highest level. If this sounds like a fit, we'd love to hear from you. Email your resume to salescareers@federatedmedia.com or text TALENT to 45364. Federated Media is an equal opportunity employer.
I never realized that I'd be taking care of a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old on my own. I think men can be a little stubborn sometimes, where pride gets in the way, and they may want the help, they may not know how to ask. With my traditions, with the family support in line, and just with my mind frame, I was able to turn a negative into a positive. I knew I needed more tools in my toolbox to take care of these little girls that had just lost their mother. It's time for me to be that father that I knew I could be. I think just being that good role model as well, that models good behavior in front of them, going to work every day, coming home and being able to put on that smile. The biggest reward about being a dad is sitting back and watching your kids be happy.
Never stop being a dad. That's dedication. Find out more at fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It is critical we keep AM radio in all cars and all trucks. Hey, Sean Hannity here. More than 80 million Americans depend on AM radio for news, traffic, weather, sports, and a community connection, as well as news information and, yes, opinion. It is the backbone of the emergency alert system, and that keeps us safe in dangerous times, because when cell and internet services are down, well, this free emergency service might be your only lifeline. Now, text AM to the number 52886. Text AM to 52886. Tell Congress that we need AM radio in our cars. Text AM to 52886 today.
Now back to Talkin Sports with Jim Shovlin on Fort Wayne Sports Station, 1380 The Fan and 100.9 FM.
Welcome back to Talkin Sports, powered by McMahon's Best One. Over there is DC Hendricks spinning the tunes. I'm Jim Shovlin. Thanks for tuning in as we're talking local sports of all sorts until the top of the hour at 10 o'clock. If you'd like to be part of the show, you can do so via the text line at 260-447-8500. That's 260-447-8500. We'll take a look at it and see if we can't get it on the air for you. And speaking of the rejoin music, the boys are back in town. Well, not yet, but they will be on Tuesday. They're finishing up a road trip at Lake County against the Captains. Were beaten last night by the Captains by a score of 5-3, but we'll be home to face the Dayton Dragons, the Cincinnati Reds High A affiliate, starting Tuesday. And on the phone, on the Talkin Sports phone line, powered by Fire Police City County Federal Credit Union, is Fort Wayne Tincaps president, Mr. Mike Nutter. Mike, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thanks for fitting me in on this football Saturday.
My goodness, it's things change once
they're changing.
Yes, indeed, yes. But let's just go right to the homestand that begins on Tuesday, the final time to come out to Parkview Field for a set of baseball games, and you've got quite a bit still going on during this 6-game stretch.
We sure do. You know, it's six night games. So Tuesday night, Dayton Dragons are in town, Cincinnati Reds. Family feast night on Tuesday, 6:35 game with school back in. Our fans love that. Wednesday night, we're right back into it with the last pause and clause, 6:35. And then we blow it out Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday with fireworks every night. Thursday, and fireworks. Friday night is fireworks and Harry Potter night, which the fans absolutely love. Saturday night is fireworks again. And then Sunday night, the regular season finale. Special Sunday evening game, 6:05 with fireworks, because a lot of folks are off the next day for Labor Day. And it's also a big one. It's Jackson Merrill bobblehead. And so I'm in here at the ballpark right now. I have one sitting on my desk. It's absolutely awesome. They turned out great. There's a chance his parents are going to come in for the game and hand out the bobbleheads, because we have such a great relationship and friendship with them. And so, yeah, there's no let up on the promo budget. For 6 games, we're going to blow it out. Weather looks absolutely perfect. The beginning of fall, highs in the 70s. No chance of rain at this point. Overnights in the 50s. Great weather, and we're excited to wrap up another great season downtown.
Yes, indeed, and of course, even because the fact that the Tincaps Midwest League season is ending, that doesn't mean you just lock the doors and leave Parkview Field for 6 to 7 months. There's a lot still going on in the fall months of the year and then into the winter season as well.
Absolutely. The single biggest event we do is Sport for Fitness, and so that'll be coming up before home plate. I've done it a handful of times, and it's just a really cool finish, even for slow joggers like myself. But then it really ramps up again. Last year, the listeners to this show were absolutely awesome in their support when we launched Holiday Lights last year. 1 million lights, Jim. The front office staff hung them up. The front office staff pulled them down. That's a true story. You can hear I'm laughing because our staff about halfway through thought, Mike, are you sure this is a good idea? And so we were estimating 30,000, 40,000 people in attendance for the Holiday Lights. We ended up doing 98,000 people. It was absolutely unbelievable. And as such, we're going from 1 million lights last year to 1.5 million lights this year. The trucks are going to pull in right away in September. 3 of them coming already on September 2nd. A bunch more coming September 29th. The staff and part-time staff and anybody listening that wants a part-time job this fall, we'd love to have them for lights. It's a lot of fun. It's a good crew. It was such an impact in downtown. We heard from restaurants, hotels, the boutique shops. It's the single greatest November and December we've ever had, and that's what it's about. It's not just getting people to come down to the ballpark, park in the parking lot, and leave. It's about getting them to do things outside the walls of the ballpark in addition to in here. And so it was a great first year. And the last thing I'll say on the lights, we kept the pricing the exact same. We didn't raise it. There was a little bit of pressure to do so, and we convinced the co-promoter, no, keep it this way. And then the last thing that I would add is it's an all-new show. So if somebody came out last year and they saw, okay, this was in the outfield and this was on the field and this was this, it's all new, it's all music, it's 50% more lights, and it's going to be absolutely awesome.
Okay, I'm still blown away, Mike, by the fact that you said the staff hangs the majority of those 1 million or now 1.5 million lights. So let me visualize this. So Jared Parcell, Tony Desplaines, Morgan Olson, they're all the ones that are out there hanging these Christmas lights, because I may hire them to do my house this Christmas, because I don't like to go out and do that.
It was all us.
Wow.
We brought in a part-time crew of about 20 of our game day ushers and concessionaires, and then people from the general public that heard we were doing it. It's a nice Monday to Friday. We go about 9 to 4 most days, weather pending. It took us a full 6.5 weeks to set everything up, and to pull everything down, it took us 2 weeks, because there was a forecast of like 20 below zero a couple weeks from then. And Mother Nature is a pretty good motivator just as much as money is. So we really did well. The people that you named were all a part of it. It was absolutely awesome, and we learned a lot. The problem with trying to get that crew to do then your house is Mrs. Nutter asked me one day when I got home about setting up our show around the house, and I got to tell you, I hope nobody's listening, just you and me, Jim, because it's a little bit of me falling on the sword. I was a little bit of a Scrooge when she asked that comment.
I turned out, yeah, I love Christmas.
Needed to go back and ask for an apology later, because that day I think I had hung about 25,000 lights myself and did about, 300 zip ties that day, so I was a little worn out.
I dearly love Christmas, the Christmas season, everything it's about. But I can't stand hanging any lights. I don't know why, because I look to it, even if it's a 50-degree day when I hang them in late November, early December, I know that when I take them down, it's going to be potentially 20 below. And that's just brutal.
About it.
Okay, so we have Sport for Fitness, we have the holiday lights, but there are other opportunities. You talked about the batting cages being available to be rented in the off season. You know, I guess the Lincoln Event Center is a possibility. The suite level for conferences, receptions, etc. How does someone take the first step in looking into something like this?
Great question. It's all on the website, but they can go to Holly Rainey directly. It's Rainey at tincaps.com. And again, she's listed for the people driving that didn't get that down. She can help them with everything you just said. We do a lot of charity walks in the fall. There's actually a wedding at home plate coming up in October. There's a huge event that our friends at Cordy's going to do for a lot of people with a movie and all kinds of stuff. It's a pretty open canvas here for people that want to do stuff. The batting cage rentals, you know, my son's going to be a senior down at IU somehow already, but I spent about every Saturday morning in here for years. There's still a lot of good spots to be rented. It's definitely not the most expensive place in town to rent a cage. It probably isn't the cheapest either, but it's an incredible setting. They can come out and see it. It's absolutely awesome. So Holly Rainey's on the website, or they can go to the info box and send in a question and get everything answered right there.
That is amazing. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. Can we talk to you next week and put a wrap on the season and that last homestand?
I can't wait. Thanks so much for the great partnership and friendship, my friend, and I'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. That was Mike Nutter, president of the Fort Wayne Tincaps, on our weekly Tincaps chat. And not a whole lot to talk about on the field right now. There's the team struggling just a little bit, but once again, and I know we have some people that wish for more competition and a better baseball representative as far as the on the field product. Sometimes that's somewhat out of our control here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, as opposed to, let's say, what the Padres need to do to get their major league teams issues, get their major league wants and needs filled, and they can do it through the farm system. And I guess it's just, if you want to look at it like that, it's just kind of a testimony to say, well, they're developing good baseball players that are coveted by other teams. So that's just one of the things that is happening. So, but around the field, off the field, promotionally speaking, it's a lot of fun out at Parkview Field, and so good for the community as well. So many not-for-profits are able to show you what they do and give voice to these not-for-profits that are around the Fort Wayne and Northeast Indiana area. And I know when I was with the Mad Ants, we had a lot of not-for-profits. We had Ants Awareness in Action, where we would highlight a local not-for-profit. And it was more the mindset of, we hope you never need this not-for-profit. But if you do, you will now know it's there, and there is help available for you in whatever realm. So that was something, giving voice, giving vision to the not-for-profits around, and that's something that a lot of the sports teams, the Fort Wayne Comets, have been doing that for 70 years. So, it's just something in this community that they buy into the community. So that's just one of those things. So I'm going to go back to D.C. Hendricks right now. He's a little startled, but
never startled.
Never startled. And never startled, never shaken, right?
Too many years in radio to be startled.
Stirred but not shaken.
I've been through some crazy stuff on air. So
there you go. Now, basically, I want to go into what you're doing. You're with Indiana Preps. You're doing that. You're doing the 260 Dugout podcast that airs at 8 o'clock in the morning on Saturday mornings.
Planning on doing that through October.
Okay.
And I'm going to wrap it up until February-ish, January, February-ish, around there, and I'm going to start. I'm going to ramp up on high school previews. So all the teams that I didn't get to, I didn't get to Northrop, I didn't get to Southside, Bishop Dwinger. There's so many programs I didn't even get to highlight. I'm going to start with those programs for my high school season previews. I'm going to start those and ramp those up around springtime. So take a couple months off. It's winter, so not really a whole lot to talk about during that time.
Not that I'm a P1 fan or anything like that, or that podcast. But let's see, we've talked about Leo with Gary Rogers.
Yep.
We talked Norwell. We talked Snyder. We talked Canterbury with Bubba McMahon as well. And just those teams alone, and just the personalities and the baseball knowledge that comes out of those. And tell us a little bit about your most recent podcast where you talk pitching.
Yeah, so there's a pitching coach that is devoting a lot of his time to like our local high school pitchers, like the top pitchers. Most of them are going D1. He's working with them and basically helping them with things, retooling things, adding a little bit more velocity to their pitches, like Luke Rhea from Homestead, who's getting ready to go to Toledo. He bumped him up from 89 miles an hour, and now he's hitting up to 94, 95 just over this past summer, and still throwing strikes, obviously. Working with people like him. He works with college kids, but it all started right here in the 260. He's still here. Played Foster Park Little League, played at Elmhurst Little League. Had a little fun with him because he told me a story about his Elmhurst team in his 1 year where his team went 0-24.
Well, you're a product of Elmhurst Little League and also Southside High School as well. So
and he ended up going to Southside and wasn't even a pitcher at Southside.
Really?
He played more like third base and was a hitter. He said his senior year he hit like 135 or something like that, and then he could pitch.
So he hit like a pitcher.
Yeah. So he could pitch, but he didn't pitch that much.
Yeah.
But some plans fell through because his senior year in high school was 2020. Getting ready to go into college, and obviously that's a rough time to be trying to figure out the next step. So he ended up having to decommit from the college that he originally committed to, and walked on at St. Francis and played all 4 years at St. Francis. Just graduated this past spring, and has quickly ramped up his own pitching training for local and regional pitchers, and it's been working really well for him.
Very good.
Blaine McRae is his name, by the way.
And so how can listeners find your podcast?
Yeah, you can check it out. It's available on all where all podcasts are available: Apple, Spotify, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio. It's everywhere podcasts are available. Just search 260 Dugout, and you'll be able to find it.
All right. That's DC Hendricks, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's going to just about do it for Talkin Sports for Saturday, August 23rd. Many, many thanks to Justin Kenny from OPS and OutsideTheHuddle.net for joining us to recap week 1 of the high school football season. Thanks to Mike Nutter for coming on as every single Saturday morning to recap and give us a little taste of what the promotionally based Fort Wayne Tincaps are going to be doing in the coming weeks. And thanks to you, the listener, for tuning in each and every Saturday morning. We do appreciate that. Thanks to DC Hendricks for always keeping it all smooth and playing a little AC/DC. So until next week, have a great week, everybody.
Podcasts by Federated Media.